shake your table.
Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Is it too loud? Is it too soft?
Just right.
Is it Goldilocks?
Just right.
Just right, baby. All right. So, if you're going to take notes and keep up with your agreement that you made with Jason yesterday, I would highly recommend it. I made a PowerPoint with bullet points, and they're really easy. Really easy to fill in your bullet points. So, here's what I get to talk about. The good, the bad, and the ugly. The good, the bad, and the ugly. So I get to talk about Pete Swenson, Vivint, and Ryan Roach. You guys excited? Yeah! I'm just kidding. He's beautiful. All right. So, the good, the bad, and the ugly. You like that one. All right. So I actually struggled with it a little bit about what I wanted to talk about. And I took a lot of inspiration. I was just trying to figure out, like, what the heck do people want to learn? What is this part about? Raise your hand if this is your first summer. Raise it up. Raise it up nice and high. Give yourselves a freaking hand. You guys rock. Raise your hand if you've done this before. Raise it up. Give yourselves a hand. Yeah. Here's why. Fear is a big part of what we do. Whether you like to admit it or not, fear is a pretty big part. And if you've never done this before, you're going to have a pretty big fear right now. It's called the fear of the unknown. Let me level with you guys right a little bit. So back in 2005, is anybody here 18? So when you guys were in kindergarten, that's when I started this job. And I didn't know what to expect. Here's what I want to tell you. Whatever you're picturing right now, you're wrong. Whatever you're picturing the houses to look like, they're going to look different. Whatever you're picturing your apartment to look like, it's going to look different. Whatever you think your roommate situation is going to be, it's going to be different. There are a lot of fears, man. Am I going to do well? Am I going to be the #1 first year? Am I going to suck? Is it going to rain? Is it going to be, like, all of these questions that will go through your head? And so what I decided is I want to talk to you a little bit. I want to inoculate you a little bit and give you some tools that you can use to make all those fears really, they're not going to go away, but they give you something that you can be confident that you can handle those fears. Would that be nice?
Yeah.
Now, if you've done this before and you're like, I'm a veteran. So there's this other thing called the fear of the known, right?
Yep.
So you're choosing to go back to do something that is incredibly challenging. After 9 years with a company called Southwestern, I decided I'm going to go check out this North Star thing. And when I say that, I mean, I quit that job and I was like, I'll never knock on a door again. And my brother called me, he's like, what are you doing Friday? I said, nothing. He goes, cool, I booked you a plane ticket to Utah. You're going to go hang out with Dan and Rob and Ryan. And I was like, oh, shit, okay, well, I'll go. And my girlfriend at the time said, don't make any decisions. And my best friend at the time, Pat Smith, he goes, don't make any decisions. I was like, I won't. I'll keep my options open. And after about 48 hours in Utah, I was like, where do I sign again? All right, I'm in. But then the fear started again. Oh, what if this is different? What if I'm not as good at this as I was at my old job? What if I'm supposed to be so good and it sucks and it's hard? What if it is a scam, right? Like, what if my brother has been lying to me for 4 years? I thought it. Some of you guys, my brother tried to recruit me for 4 years. We had conversations where I put the phone on speaker, sat on the couch, and like go do stuff for 45 minutes. And he'd be like, dude, here's what I gotta do, here's what I do it. You still listening? Yeah! And he'd keep going, and then I'd walk in at the end and go, thanks for the information, man, it was nice. Like, that was me for 4 years. And I finally came here, and one of the things that's really cool about this job and the last job that I have is there's some truths that hold true, but truths that are the same whether you're selling books, whether you're selling security, whether you're selling whatever else people sell, right? There's some things that we can control. So let's talk about that first. Let's talk about your habits. So your habits. Habits are something that you control. Does anybody know how long it takes to form a habit? 21 days. And then I read a book called Habits, and it says it takes 66 days. And then Ryan Roach told me if you do it for 6 months, it's a habit. I don't freaking know. Let's just go with 21. Cool? 21 days to form a habit. 3 weeks to form a habit. And there are 3 different things in this job that you can control. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the 3 things you can control, that if you control them for 3 weeks, everything will be okay. Y'all cool with that?
Amen.
You can do it for 3 weeks, not a whole summer, not for the next 12 years, 3 weeks. You do it for 3 weeks, everything's going to be okay. So here are your controllables. First thing you can control is your hours. Your hours of work. If you want it, if you're first year, I'm speaking directly to you. And if you're an experienced rep, I'm still speaking to you too. Because 45 hours of work, here's my definition of work. So 45 hours is roughly 7 hours a day for 5 days, and then 8 or 9 hours on Saturday, 10 hours on Saturday. So 45 hours of work. Here's my definition of work. You're with a homeowner, or you're on your way to see a homeowner. That's my definition. You guys like that definition?
Yep.
That's it. If you work for 45 hours, is there any room in that explanation to sit on a park bench and read motivational quotes to get you in the right state? Is there room for that in my definition?
No.
No, you guys can yell out answers too. It'd be great. Is there room?
No.
That's great. All right. I just had a flashback to the Newsies. Okay. What is wrong with me? All right. So with a homeowner on your way to see no more, does it leave room in there to sit at a gas station to buy a Red Bull because you're tired?
No.
That's the definition of work. If you want to have a great first summer, do that. Just do that for 3 weeks, and you'll form a habit. And once you've formed a habit, is it going to be hard the rest of the summer?
Yes.
No. Once you work 45 hours, my last job, you guys, I worked 85 hours a week. This job is a freaking joke, to be honest. Compared to what I used to do, this thing is easy. Some of you guys are like, whoa, that's so much work. This is half of what I used to do. It's awesome. So just go do that. Go do 45. Cool?
Cool.
45. Next thing. Oh, that's all one, whatever. 25 decision makers. You got to find 25 people each day that can make a decision. Here's my definition. Someone who is willing and able to make a decision in 90 minutes or less. Here's why this is important. Willing and able. Willing to make the decision. Is it the person that makes the decisions in the house? So if I knock on a door at 2 in the afternoon and it's a mom who's a stay-at-home mom and she's not the one who makes the decisions, is that a prospect?
No.
It's not a prospect to me. It's not a decision maker. I got to come back after 5 and talk to him. You guys all clear on that?
Yes.
Able. If they don't have any money, are they able to buy this? So stop wasting time in areas where they don't have any money. Go to the bigger neighborhoods, man. They'll do great. And they got to make a decision in 90 minutes or less. That's going to be a hard one for some of you guys. But one of the biggest mistakes you could make your first year is staying for 30 hours to get a sale, because it becomes a habit. Unless you're consciously forming good habits, unconsciously you're doing what? Forming bad habits. So, 25 decision makers. Here's your last one. 5 transitions. Get inside the house just 5 times a day. Make that a goal. If you knock on the door and they say come in, that counts. Cool?
Cool.
Come on in. Cool. All right, that was 1. So, try to get 5. This is your first summer. These are the stats that you want to have. Those are the stats that you want to have. Why is it so important? Well, the first 3 weeks of your summer are kind of like building a house. We're going to go to an analogy. We're going to take it way further than I need to. But it's kind of like building a house. So the first thing you got to do when you build a house, and if I get this wrong, construction workers, sorry, I don't know how construction works. I did sell in 2007, so I saw a lot of houses go up, and then they were empty for a few years. But set a foundation. So you got to build your foundation. You got to dig a hole and pour the foundation. Y'all with me on that?
Yep.
There's 4 different ways you can lay your foundation. This goes back to a parable. One person, you can build your foundation in sand. What is that like?
Unstable.
Is that going to be stable or unstable?
No, unstable.
Completely unstable. But is it pretty easy to dig a hole in sand?
Yes.
Pretty easy. It's not that easy to keep the walls up, but like physically, if you guys went to a beach, is it pretty easy to dig a hole?
Yes.
So what I'm talking about, if you set a foundation in sand, that means you're not really working that hard. That's like 35 hours a week. You'll find 10 to 15 people a day that are decision makers, and you get in 2 or 3 houses a day. That's a foundation of sand. Next, dirt. A foundation of dirt or clay. This is what most people do. This is average, right?
Yep.
This is average. So average would be 45, 25, and 5. And is it a little bit more work to dig in dirt than sand?
Yes.
And you might even need a shovel, right?
Yep. Yep.
So you have to have more tools than you did in the first place. And does it take energy to use those tools?
Yes.
Totally, right? So take the analogy further than it needs to go. Think about it. Who's doing more work? The guy with the shovel or the guy with the sand? Or the dirt or the sand, right? Dirt takes more effort. Bedrock. Ooh, baby. Who wants to build their house on bedrock? Raise it up.
Oh yeah.
Who wants to do that? That's like a jackhammer. Have you guys ever seen a jackhammer?
Yeah.
It's like going up and down. It's like, you want to see that again? So that's a jackhammer. Is there a lot of energy that has to go into making a jackhammer work?
Yeah.
Totally. But once you get that foundation set and you dug that hole and you build your foundation on rock, is that sturdy?
Yeah.
That's freaking sturdy, right? And if it's sturdy, is anything going to shake it?
No.
Short of an earthquake, right?
Right.
Nothing's going to shake it. So that's your third foundation. Here's one I like, steel. I know it doesn't exist, but let's pretend there was a whole planet made out of steel. Or like you found a mountain made out of steel. And you get like diamond-tipped drill bits. Oh yeah. And you need like lasers. What uses more energy, a laser or a jackhammer? Laser, right? What takes more energy, a shovel or a jackhammer? Jackhammer. Sand or a shovel? Shovel, you guys. So is it harder to build your foundation on steel? Is it worth it?
Yes.
Yes. Max Kupitz, I love Max. I wasn't planning on talking about it, but you guys, Max, his first summer, dude, we tried to fire him like 4 times. He just wouldn't leave. And like we had Ryan follow him. We're like, dude, what is this guy doing? And Ryan's opinion, no joke, was he's outworking everybody. He's just not good at selling. That's exactly what he said. He's like, dude, that kid's busting his ass. Maybe it was Scott Schwab that did that, but he's like, that dude is busting it. He's not very good at sales yet. But Max would, like, I was his car group leader, and it ticked me off because he would be working until 10 o'clock at night. I'm like, Max, get in the car. He's like, I have another appointment. I'm like, dude, how many people did you talk to today? I talked to like 40. His approach wasn't that great, right? We talked to 40. How many houses do you get into? I get into 8 or 9. Like, this dude was working. He sold 4 accounts his first month. Sold 130 his first summer. Woo!
Yeah.
Yeah! Is it worth it?
Yes.
Yes.
Is it going to be challenging?
Yes.
Do it. After your foundation, you got to put up the walls. You got to put up the walls. It's the house that Jake built. All right? You put up the walls. Now, when you put the walls up, and you're putting up the boards, there are 2 small pieces of steel that you could use to fasten the boards together. One of them is what?
Nail.
A nail. Perfect. So one of them is a nail. So just picture this. You got 2 boards, and you nail them together. Is it possible to pull those apart?
Yes.
Cool. So what's better to use?
Screw.
A screw. Is it harder?
Yes.
It's harder. But there's a difference between nails and screws. Take it away further than it needs to go. What takes more energy? A screw or a nail to put in?
Screw.
Screw. You got to get a power tool for that. A nail, you just hit it. Right? You got to have a screwdriver. So what I'm going to challenge you guys to do this summer is to build a house on steel and put a whole bunch of screws in your stud walls. What are screws versus nails? Well, here's a couple. 1, working out. Working out, write it down. Here's the question. Do you have to work out every day to be successful at this job?
No.
Do you have to?
No.
Is it possible in the history of alarms that someone has not worked out every day and still been very successful?
Yes.
Totally. Would it help?
Yep.
That's a screw. Go to bed before midnight. Is it possible that there's someone in the industry who went to bed at 2 o'clock in the morning every night during the summer, woke up at 11 o'clock, and still had a good summer? Is that possible?
Yes.
Is it probably more likely that you'll have a good summer if you go to bed at midnight, wake up at 7 or 8?
Yes.
More likely, right? So that's another screw. Reading positive material, feeding your brain positive books, books about sales, things that can make you better at the job. Are there guys who are naturally talented?
Yes.
Who don't need that stuff?
Yes.
Could they be better if they did?
Yes.
Read it. That was a weird sentence. But like my point is, you don't have to do the screws. You don't have to. Right? You don't have to do it. But if you're building a house and you build the whole thing and you build all of it with nails. You built it on steel, but you built it all with nails. And there's a tornado that comes through. Is it possible that that house falls down?
Yes.
What if that house is built on sand? Rain can take that mother down, right? Rain can. A kid playing sand volleyball who accidentally knocks into the house can knock it over. Right? Is it possible, this is a weird question, but is it possible if you build a house completely out of screws and you've got one nail in the house, just one, and the mouse crawls up there and nibbles around the nail, and then the wind shakes the house? You guys with me?
Yeah.
And then there's an earthquake. And you're like, man, my house is staying up. Is it possible even that house could fall down?
Yes.
So my point is this. When you build your house this summer, for 3 weeks, all I'm asking you to do is do this. And the next part I'm going to talk about isn't going to freaking matter. So this is the good, kind of. I get to go straight into the ugly. Because there's going to be weather. And there's going to be wind, and I'm not talking about just actual rain. Right? There's going to be rain. If you're going to Seattle with me, who's that?
Yeah.
Dallin, where you at? Your team in Seattle? It's going to rain. It's going to rain a lot. And I'll level with everybody here. I've 12 years. I hate rain. I hate it. When it rains, it pours. It opens doors. No, it doesn't. It sucks. And it's cold. Yeah, but when you knock, they'll say, come on in. No, they don't. They say, you're freaking crazy. You guys, rain sucks. Has everybody understood it's going to rain this summer?
Yeah.
If your house is built on steel and it's got screws, do you even feel the rain?
No.
You just don't. You don't feel the rain. There's some other bad things that can happen. Let's talk about those. And by the way, if I freak you out right now, I'm okay with that. Dogs. Let's talk about dogs. 60,000 houses, or there so, whoever challenged me that earlier today, somewhere around there. 60,000 houses, 13 dogs have taken a part of me with them. Part werewolf now, but dogs suck. German shepherds that are this big and white that bite you right here suck. I got a scar. If anybody wants to see it later, we'll do that. I'll do it right now.
Do it.
But because dogs can be scary. If you're not prepared for it, could a dog bite get you to quit?
Yes.
If you're not prepared for it, could rain get you to quit?
Yes.
Yes, whatever. It's a dog. Mailmen get bit by dogs all the time. Right? They get bit by dogs all the time, and they still deliver our mail. Dog trainers get bit by dogs all the time. They still train dogs. That's a weird one. All right. That's one of the weather. Another thing that might happen. Cops. Cops, man. People sometimes don't hear what you say. They hear what they want to hear. And if you're knocking without a permit, or you're being too pushy, or you're being a jerk, or you're being sleazy, or you're driving around in your car looking for signs and like looking in people's yards, you might get the cops called on you. You might. My dad was a cop. Here's what my dad told me about cops, and may or may not be true, but I like it. He said 90% are a-holes who were picked on in high school. That was his opinion. He's like, that's kind of the guys I work with. So a lot of them are coming out there and they just want to yell at you because they've been doing nothing all day. If you're not prepared for it, could that make you want to quit?
Yeah.
It's called a blue light special. It might happen. It might happen. Be ready for it. Be ready for it. Your roommate quits. That might happen. That might happen. Or you might be like Brian Goodman, a guy I worked with 2 years ago, that had 4 roommates quit. He had IBS, so it was like understandable, but yeah, it was weird. Like every person we put with Ryan was just like the next guy out. Because that might happen. You might have your best friend come with you for the summer, and your best friend might quit. Does anybody have that happen? A best friend quit? How much does that suck? Guys, if you don't make the decision right now, today, that you're going to do this no matter what, your roommate quitting could cause you to quit. Significant other. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Who's got a girlfriend? Raise your hand.
Yeah.
Raise it high. You don't stand up if you have a girlfriend. Stand up. Just stand up. Just stand up. Or a wife or anybody like that, or a fiance. Stand up. Don't make noise. Just stand up. Stand up. Shh. I'm going to add to this. I'm going to add to it. If you didn't stand up, but there's a girl who calls you their boyfriend, please stand up as well. There we go. I want to speak directly to you guys. You guys, I want to speak directly to you. In 12 years, you guys, when I was in college, I was dating people. I'm now married. It's challenging. It is challenging. And if you don't prepare them right now for what you're going to be going through, they might try to get you to quit. And if you're not prepared for that, you might actually quit. Cool? So prepare for it. Because understand, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, a good woman's going to support you. She might not like it, but she's going to support you. Amen?
Amen.
All right, grab a seat. Significant other, you ready for that one? No sales. Oh, man. What if you don't sell anything like Max did? What if you only sell 4 your first month? Do you know when was your first sale? Was it like week 2? Jeremy Apichellis, where are you at?
3.
Week 3? It might happen. It might happen. You might not be good right away. Ryan, how long did it take you to get your first sale?
4 days.
4 days, baby.
That's
So,
how long it took me to get a second.
how long did it take you to get your second?
2.5 weeks.
So if in your head, you're thinking, I'm going to stick through this thing unless I'm not good right away, make a commitment that you're going to stick through it no matter what. Do you guys get this?
Yeah.
Because if you're building your house on steel, that's all that matters the first 3 weeks, is what are you building your house on and how are you putting up the stud walls? That's all that matters. Because this stuff is going to happen. Focus on your house. Next one, illness. You might get sick. It's just called nervousness. It just shows up as, oh man, I'm really sick. Go knock on 2 doors. I feel better. Well, butterflies are dead. So, illness. Cancellations. Your first customer. What if they cancel? Oh man. Took me 4 days. And then they change their mind. How much would that suck?
A lot.
I'm committed unless my first sale cancels. My point is this. Don't commit to finishing if this stuff happens. Commit to 3 weeks of the stuff before this. Can we all do that?
Yes.
Yes.
That's it. That's it. Because, and is it going to be painful?
Yes.
Yes, it's going to be painful. Are you going to be tired?
Yes.
Yep.
You be tired?
Yes.
Are you going to get some chafing?
Yes.
If you are not familiar with Gold Bond yet, you will. You will get there. Are your feet going to hurt?
Yes.
Are you going to get blisters?
Yes.
Are you excited? Like, you guys, there are some things about this job that suck. And it's coming, and my hat is off to you guys because you're taking on a challenge that most people would never even want to read about in a book.
That's true.
Seriously. They wouldn't even want to read about it. They read a book, they're like, oh, Dora Rochelle? Yeah, no. That book sounds worse than Pride and Prejudice, right? Like, I've never read that, so I don't know what it's about. Is that a good one? Is it a good joke? All right, we'll go on. So, my point is this. Your first 3 weeks, put your head down and freaking go to work. Can we all do that?
Yeah.
All right, because here's why. Here's why. It's a good Lance Armstrong quote. It says, pain is temporary. It may last a minute, or an hour, or a day, or a year, but eventually it will subside and something else will take its place. If I quit, however, it lasts forever. That surrender, even the smallest act of giving up, stays with me. So when I feel like quitting, I ask myself, which would I rather live with? Yes, I shortened it if you want to write it down. No one ever regrets finishing this thing. But people always regret quitting. They always regret it. Because does anybody start with the intention of quitting?
No.
So you have a plan, and then you don't follow your plan, and you'll feel like crap. Here's my whole point of all of this, is you will want to quit this summer. I don't care if you're 30. 12 summers, I've wanted to quit everyone at some point. Experience reps?
Yep.
Can I get an amen?
Amen.
Yeah, you're going to want to quit. Do not do it. Do not do it. Do not do it. tell you guys a story real fast about a rep who could have quit. You don't have to take notes on this. It's just a story. So back a while ago, there was a rep that, I won't use his name, but there was a rep that I worked with, and he was very excited. And this was in my book job, so just whatever. Think twice as hard as this. So he was hired in November and started training immediately. So I can count the number of times he could have quit. So he's hired immediately, started training for the summer, started getting ready. He was a freshman in college. He was doing everything he could. He memorized the sales talk. He got ready to go. He was so excited to leave. He liked his manager. He liked the guys he was working with. He was really the only guy in his school doing it. He and his friends had started to make some plans for the summer, but he said, no, I can't go do that stuff. I'm going to go do this thing. And then 4 weeks before his freshman year of college ended, he discovered alcohol. You guys all heard of this thing? And all of a sudden, the summer without it looked kind of crappy. But he said, you know what? No, I'm thinking long term. Long term, I'll go do it. And the way that our brains work is when you're afraid of something, you tend to make rationalizations. You guys all agree?
Yeah.
So the night before they were leaving to go to area, the night before, this rep called his manager and said, I quit. I'm done. I don't want to go. I can't do it. I don't have my stuff packed. I'm nervous. I don't know anybody else in the group. I don't want to go. I'm going to fail. I'm scared. He didn't have any money. He didn't have money. He had bought a car for the summer with money that his parents had loaned him. He was in the hole when he started the summer. Some of you guys are in that position right now. And he had all these reasons why he should quit. And his manager, who to this day, I know he's thankful for it, his manager kind of slapped him and said, you're an idiot. Get in the car. We're leaving tomorrow. So the rep took him. So there's 2 quits. But he didn't quit. So they're driving out to area, and it's a 2-day drive to area. The second day, while they're driving, this is, by the way, for some of you guys, this will be the longest you've ever driven before, right? Anybody in that boat? You're like, dear God, Seattle, 22 hours? It's a trip. But his first summer, he was driving. It was a 2-day drive. Day number 2, about an hour from their destination, the truck in front of him had a tire rip off. You guys ever seen that? And it went under his brand new car and demolished the catalytic converter on his brand new car. So at that point, that was a sign from God, right? Some of you guys will see signs from God. You will see them. Like we always joke about this, but April and May, man, the number of dead grandparents just skyrockets. Skyrockets. Hey man, I can't go. My grandma's sick. Or your car breaks down. Car breaks down like his did. Side of the road. You know what? Screw it. They go anyways. They get to the area, and they were going to do a bunch of training. So they're all down there. The car's in the shop. That's number 3. Car's in the shop, and they're starting to train. And everybody's training. It's a lot of fun. Everybody's there. And the roommates in Southwestern, your roommates weren't decided until after you had all your training done. And so for him, his roommates hadn't been decided. I remember he spoke to his manager and said, the only guy I don't want to live with, like every dude, I just don't want to live with Tom Johnson. And then the night before they left for their official area, he found out he was living with Tom Johnson. Number 4. You might not like your roommates this summer. That's number 4. So then they drive out to their area where they're going to live. And Saturday, they don't really have a lot to do. So they decide to, hey, we're going to have all the first years go out and just get their jitters out. So this rep and another rep go to an area, and as they're pulling into the neighborhood, the rep didn't fully merge to the left lane, and a big blue truck took the mirror off the side of his car. His brand new car that just had a catalytic converter fixed. It's another sign. He's like, well, and it didn't fully break off. There's like a cord. So he had to hold it. He had to hold it in the car with the window open. And they parked the car. So he parks the car. They roll the window up. Things dangling, scratching his new car. And they go out and these 2 go out and get their jitters out and start knocking. Within an hour, there were 3 police officers and 2 first-year reps sitting there going, I don't know where my manager is. 5 or 6. I don't know. That's a lot of crap. They haven't even started working yet. Well, they figure it out. They go back. On the way back from where they were to where they were living, the roommate, the rep, and then Tom Johnson were driving together, and they both started to smell gas. They're like, this probably isn't good. So they pull over the car and they look and they can see that gas is clearly dripping out of the gas tank underneath the car. So they missed that at the shop. The tire actually cracked the gas tank as well. And then it started raining. So they have to drive 2 hours with the window down, holding the mirror, gas making them high as all get up. And they're driving around basically a bomb. I think that's number 8, 9, and 10, right? So then, day 1. I'm not even at day 1 yet. So day 1, this rep, his car's in the shop, so he can't work, so he's going to go follow a manager. He's going to go have the ropes shown to him. And he follows a manager who's been doing the job for 7 years, one of the most successful people at Southwestern. And this rep goes out and knocks doors with her, watches her all day, and it was her first day ever not selling anything. Ever. This job's gonna be great, man. She can't even do it. That's number 12, right, or 11. So now it's time for him to go out and knock, day 1. Day 1 goes as expected, he didn't sell anything. But he did knock on the same door 3 times. And one time was at 9:30 at night, and he got yelled at a lot and threatened that the cops would be called on him if he was ever seen in that neighborhood again. Number 13. That was Tuesday. Wednesday, didn't sell anything. Thursday, didn't sell anything. Friday, 2 o'clock, still hadn't sold anything. And this rep found himself sitting in a park, crying. It was raining. It's always raining, right? And he was in South Carolina. So if you know anything about heat and a poncho, it was actually wetter inside than outside. And as the rain dripped off the tree, I've heard this story a couple times, it hit him in the back of the head, cooled in his butt crack. He might get there. And the snot is draining onto his apple, who he's staring at for motivation. This is what you call rock bottom. If anybody's ever been there. And so he's sitting there, and I don't know, like to this day, I don't know what had him stand up. I don't know. But I know that he stood up. And he went to another freaking house. And he knocked the door. And they said no, and he didn't sell anything on Friday until 9:30 at night, and he got his first sale. And made about $15. And then he didn't sell anything on Saturday. Wahoo! Hourly, it was like 12 cents. And so this rep goes to their meeting, right? The big correlation meeting. And he sits down with his manager, and it's a sob fest, man. It's like the Bachelor final episode. And he's crying, and his manager says, well, are you working? Yeah, I'm working. Are you doing the hours? Yeah. Are you meeting the contacts? Yeah. Are you getting in the houses? Well, yeah. He said, well, just freaking do that. And the rep looked at him and said, you know what? Deal. I'm going to do everything you tell me to do, because then if I fail, it's your fault. That's what I recommend you guys do. Do everything I just told you to do. If you fail, it's my fault. You can write me a letter. Right? So that rep went back out his second week, got a little bit better. Third week, got a little bit better. Fourth week, got a little bit better. By the end of his first summer, he had finished in the top 10 of all first years in the entire company. He came back his second year, finished in number 7 out of all 3,000 employees in the company. His third year, he finished number 2. His 6th year, he finished number 1. And after 9 years, out of 450,000 people, he had finished number 12. And is this, you guys. If I had quit, there's so many things I never would have done. And you don't know that sitting where you're sitting now, just so you know. I wouldn't have known back then that when I graduated college, I wouldn't have any debt. I didn't know that when I started that in 2007, I would have made enough money that I could invest $20,000, and then at 21 in 2008, I could learn what it's like to lose $20,000. Right? I didn't know that by the time I was 30, I would go to 25 different countries in 45 different states. I didn't know that my life would turn into a baseball schedule where I would work really hard for 6 months and then have an off season, and then I'd have a preseason, and then I'd go work really hard for 6 months and did that for 10 years. And you don't learn perseverance when things are going well. Do you guys agree with that?
Yes.
Is that an important trait to have?
Yes.
You don't learn how to handle rejection if everybody says yes. You don't learn how to pick yourself up if you don't get knocked down. The most important things, though, that you'll get out of this job, if you can face the good, the bad, and the ugly, and you can form a good foundation. You guys, my foundation is crazy. If you look at my stats, I beat everybody in work, in hours, in prospects, and in transitions, except for about 9 people. It always works if you work. But the things that are going to mean the most to you are not going to be money. You're going to want to quit this summer. Do not do it. Thank you.